What's going on, you guys? This is Ron with your second stimulus check update and second stimulus package update for Sunday, October 25th. I hope you guys are doing very well today. I've got several updates that I want to provide to you guys today. We've actually heard from House Speaker Nancy Pelosi during an interview. I'm going to share that interview with you guys later on in this video. She's been receiving lots of messages from her own Democratic Party telling her to just accept the victory and take the stimulus package deal that's currently on the table. I'm going to share the details with you guys on that in just a moment. Nancy Pelosi says that the stimulus package and stimulus checks will be bigger and retroactive. She mentioned that she sent over paperwork to the White House on Friday. She's expecting an answer tomorrow. And the question that we all want to know is whether or not President Trump will actually issue an executive order for another round of stimulus checks before the election. And of course, I've got to share with you guys the executive order details that President Trump did sign this week. Of course, I'll give you guys all the details on all these stories in just a moment. But before we get into it, I'd like to say welcome back to all my subscribers. I really appreciate you guys. And for those of you guys who are brand new to the channel, my name is Ron. We cover all things personal finance, investing, and how to generate more money. And of course, stimulus checks and stimulus package updates. So if you have not already subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do so now. And also, it does take me a lot of effort to put these videos together. So if you don't mind, do me a favor and smash the like button right now. That really helps out the channel. And you guys are freaking awesome. I just want to say I really appreciate you guys. I can't believe the community that we've built over the past, several months. But anyway, guys, I'm doing just fine. I really appreciate your DMs. I've been working late on the Financial Freedom Masterclass, trying to get that ready for you guys. But anyway, I'm doing just fine. I may not be able to post every single day here on YouTube, but I will get back into the swing of things after I get that completed. But for those of you guys who haven't checked it out already, definitely check out the Financial Freedom Masterclass link in the description down below. It's going to be an awesome program, and take advantage of the 50% off discount while we're still on pre-launch. So let's jump into the content. So last week, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi issued two 48-hour deadlines, and each of these 48-hour deadlines have already come and gone, and we have yet to receive any stimulus check deposits into our checking accounts. As far as I'm concerned, I've checked, I hadn't seen anything yet. But during an interview on CNN today, Nancy Pelosi was asked about the stimulus checks and about the progress of this next stimulus package. Will this actually happen before the presidential election on November 3rd? And if it doesn't happen on November 3rd, what is the likelihood that it would actually pass after that date? So let me share that interview with you guys right now.
And let's talk about that. You said a few days ago that, quote, we'd have to have our legislation all written by the end of the week to get it passed by Election Day. That was last week. You still have not reached a deal. Is it fair to say that a coronavirus relief package is not going to be signed into law before Election Day? There just isn't the time to do it?
Well, I'll never give up hope. I'm optimistic. We put pen to paper and have been writing the bill based on what we hope may be the outcome, what they said they would get back to us on. Here's the thing. For us to do anything, I want to just say to our friends out there who are suffering, and the country is suffering, working families are suffering, millions more into poverty. In the month of September, nearly 900,000 women left the workforce. So we have to act. To do anything, though, that does not crush the virus is really official malfeasance.
All right, guys, so you heard from Nancy Pelosi. She says that they've actually been putting pen to paper. She's still optimistic. She says that the ball is basically essentially in the court of the White House at this point, but they haven't yet gotten back with her. I did see information that came out recently in the last 24 hours indicating that Nancy Pelosi had sent over paperwork to the White House for Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin and Chief of Staff Mark Meadows to review and respond back to her. And according to the details, it looks like Monday is the day. Now, does that mean that there's an agreement on Monday? Obviously, we need to wait and see. But according to Nancy Pelosi, during this interview, she did say that it is not too late to reach an agreement before November 3rd's election.
They said they're going to get back. Last week, you remember they said, we'll support the testing language with minor touch. Well, that was 55% of the language. We're still waiting for the final okay, and that is a central issue in all of this.
All right, guys, so you heard it from Nancy Pelosi. She is still waiting on the final language, language as it's written in the contractual agreement within the stimulus bill. And we have heard from Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin multiple times on this particular issue, where he said that there would be some minor edits made to the wording in the language on this particular bill that would align both with the House of Representative Democrats as well as the, Senate Republicans. However, according to Nancy Pelosi, over 55%, I'm not really sure how she got to that figure, but over 55% of the language was changed rather than the minor edits that was promised by Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin.
Speaker Pelosi, when's the drop-dead deadline when a deal cannot happen before Election Day? Because as you note, millions of Americans are suffering. There are 8 million more in poverty.
That's right.
All those women that dropped out of the workforce, presumably, I would think a lot of them probably dropped out because their kids are doing remote education and they have to be home with their children. Thus, they're giving up paychecks. They need help. When's the drop-dead deadline for them to get this help?
Well, I do think, as I say, we're ready. We can change some words in the bill should they come back with some modifications. But you mentioned schools. Children should be safe in schools. We can make that happen across the country. It only takes more money, and that is for separation, for ventilation, for technology, for more teachers and the rest.
I just wanted to stop the video right there. Now, first of all, they touched on the fact that, many parents, specifically women, have dropped out of the workforce in order to stay home with their kids to assist with, at-home learning. And I mean, I'd love to hear from you guys. I don't even understand how that's even possible. Usually when there's, and this is assuming that these are two-parent households. I don't even know if these are single-parent households where the only parent happens to be the mom, happens to drop out of the workforce to assist their kids with the at-home learning. I don't even understand the math behind how do you support your family if you have to drop out of the workforce and stay at home with your kids. I mean, because I can't imagine that the majority of people have the ability to work from home remotely. I mean, obviously that's the case for some people, but it's not the case for everyone. So I don't even understand that piece. And she said that she's willing to change some words in the bill. So, I mean, that sounds like more willingness to negotiate on this one. But, I don't know to what extent that, she's willing to change the wording to allow that agreement to happen between both sides.
So we know that the White House has moved closer to your position on lots of issues. Coronavirus testing, contact tracing strategy, unemployment benefits, local government.
Excuse me, they haven't yet. That's
haven't?
what we're waiting for. We're waiting for the final.
Well, so they said they would, and you're waiting to see it on paper.
They haven't yet. And also, same thing. They keep moving the goalposts. They every time they say we move the goalposts, that means they're projecting what they did. But let's just, let's be hopeful. We're 9 days before an election. Yeah. We're trying to unify the country, and one way to do it is to come together to crush the virus so that we can open our economy, open our schools, feed our people. 17 million children food insecure in our country. But again, the answer is crush the virus.
So I get that, but it just seems like they keep moving closer and closer. I get that you're waiting for it on paper, but it just seems like you're winning. I mean, that's what it seems like to me. I'm looking at all the things that the White House is moving towards your position on, and it seems like you could take yes for an answer.
Well, as soon as they say this is it, in our negotiations, yes, that is the case. But then they take it back, and when they come back, it isn't what we anticipated. So I'm hoping tomorrow, Monday, the secretary, I sent over on Friday the list of the concerns that we still had about what is the answer? What is the answer? What is the answer? And my understanding is he will be reviewing that over the weekend, and we'll have some answers on Monday.
All right, guys. So, I mean, Nancy Pelosi, she says that, the White House is verbally making these commitments. They're saying one thing, but basically doing another. I like the pressure that the interviewer is putting on Nancy Pelosi to get us direct answers about where we are right now. But according to Nancy Pelosi, it looks like the White House and the negotiators, they're saying one thing to the press, but they're not actually coming through on that verbal promise. She's saying that she's still waiting on the White House to do what they said they were going to do. So, is it Nancy Pelosi at this point, or is it the White House? Is it, and he called out what I've been saying all along. I mean, Nancy Pelosi has been winning all along. There have been multiple stimulus package offers that she's, essentially declined on up until this point. And the question is, if you're really for the American people, why don't you just take a yes now? But according to Nancy, she says Monday, so, that's tomorrow. Let's see what Monday brings.
3 Democratic governors in the Midwest, Whitmer of Michigan, Evers of Wisconsin, and Walz of Minnesota. 3 Democratic governors wrote to you, President Trump, and other congressional leaders saying, among other things, quote, "We implore you to put differences aside and agree to another much-needed COVID-19 relief bill." In addition, one of your own members, Congressman Max Rose, said this week that the Democratic Party needs to learn to a certain extent how to declare victory and go home. You're getting a lot of messages from Democrats saying this is good enough, we need to say yes.
Welcome to my world. That is not a lot of messages, although I respect each and every one of them. The fact is, if we don't agree to the science to crush the virus, if they did what is in our bill that science dictates that we do, then if we do that, we can lower the incidence of the virus in certain areas, open schools, open businesses, and the rest. If we don't, we're just giving money to the president to spend any way he wants, and that has not been in furtherance of crushing the virus. So again, in terms of, we all want an agreement. Nobody wants it more than the House Democrats. We represent these people.
I mean, you gotta love Nancy's very long-winded responses. I feel like, the interviewer is so frustrated. He's like, okay, all right, just give me what I'm looking for, Nancy. She kind of goes on and, tells you that she's trying to crush the virus about 62 times. But anyway, Nancy Pelosi is pretty much blowing off the fact that, there's a number of members within her own Democratic Party that are like, Nancy, we're winning. Take the deal, and, not only are these members at risk of not being reelected, but it's like, the American people have needed stimulus checks for months now, and nothing has happened since, President Trump's executive order back in like August. So we need something now. Now, the big question is, will President Trump issue an executive order before the November 3rd election? And, based on the polls, President Trump needs to do something pretty miraculous to kind of turn things around. And I know a lot of people disagree with the quality or the accuracy of the polls. And, I agree with that, to some extent. I don't think that these polls can be entirely accurate, but I don't think that they could be entirely wrong either, because there is a lot of data that is available. So, maybe a couple percentage points, the, polls could be off, but it doesn't look like this is even going to be a very close race. And it does seem like, if President Trump's even going to have an opportunity or a chance to win this election, he's definitely going to have to make a stimulus package pass. If we remember back when stimulus checks were passed the first time, during the CARES Act, President Trump's approval rating went up 5% as a result of doing that. So there's clearly a direct correlation between passing a stimulus check, getting stimulus checks out to the American people, reinstating federal unemployment insurance benefits for those who need it. Millions of Americans need this financial support at this time. So there's a clear correlation between passing a stimulus check and a stimulus package before the election and potentially strongly increasing President Trump's ability to compete in this election. And so technically, the elections are in about 9 days from now. So President Trump still has time to issue that executive order. He could potentially issue it, up to a couple of days before the election. I'm not sure exactly when the deadline would be where he could, the last minute, hey, sign the executive order and at least get the news out that he's signed and passed this executive order, getting stimulus checks out to the American people, in enough time for him to be able to benefit in the polls from doing so. But the last thing that I wanted to cover with you guys is that President Trump actually has signed an executive order just this week. According to CNN, it says that President Trump signed an executive order that appears to provide him and his agency appointees more leeway in the hiring and firing of federal employees deemed disloyal, a move that critics say politicizes civil service and could lead to career officials being pushed out for political reasons. It says here that the president has vilified some career officials as the deep state during his term and sought to rid the federal government of people he views as anti-Trump. Now, this is very interesting. President Trump issued an executive order on Wednesday, but it wasn't an executive order for stimulus checks for the American people. And if we look in this article, it says as for the possibility that Trump could use the order to install scores of cronies to sabotage Biden, a former top Department of Health and Human Services official says it is already happening. So my question is, number one, as the president, if you're going to issue an executive order last week, why didn't that executive order include stimulus checks out to the American people? But two, is this a sign that President Trump is kind of anticipating defeat and so he's trying to sabotage the next president? I'm just curious. I would love to know what you guys think about this one. But anyway, that's all for this stimulus check update and stimulus package update. I will definitely keep a close watch on what's going on. I expect some updates from Nancy Pelosi tomorrow. She says Monday is a day where she's expecting some answers. And she says that things could still happen this week. So I will definitely keep you guys posted on that one. If you haven't already, go ahead and smash the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel. And I would appreciate if you share this video on Facebook. And I will see you guys on the next one. Take care.